You stupid frag-licking leg wagon. That's funny. Should you manage to survive this situation, you're simply heading back to jail in the Blanchford. God damn. Take 4. Fuck this. Hello, it's Ren Presents time. I'm your host, Ren, and today we continue with the House of Bloodstein, Mentralysis, Part 3, Chapter 4, A Familiar Prisoner. And I've spoken before about the creation process and how, even though you're the creator of a certain piece of work, as a book in this case, that I wrote, you're not necessarily in charge. You don't necessarily get your way all the time. Sometimes the way you think a story is going to go and you plan for it and you labor to get to that point to set it up. Sometimes things just unfold and happen differently or take an unexpected turn where the author is just along for the ride, just like the reader. It happens quite a bit. This chapter is a classic case of that. A familiar prisoner. We will be reintroduced to a character we saw in the previous book, Perlamum, a character I fully intended on killing off in a most horrible way. I thought this character has served their purpose. They are done. They are finished. I will kill them. And then just didn't work out that way. It just never happened. And the character ended up surviving. I thought, well, okay, fine. The character gets to live. We will never hear from this character again. I will sink this character so low. Even their own mother won't recognize them when I'm finished. But that, again, that's not what happened. Here we are, deep into the Mentralysis book, and this character is popping up again. And this is a long chapter. It's 20 pages. I thought last week when I looked at it real fast it was only 8. I was mistaken. It's 20. So, as we recall from last week, Phillip, his new bride Thomasina, and King are making their way through the Gellartron in Castle Bloodstein to get at the Chadburn, or the control column of Queen Gome's Bower Chest monster, both of whom we have yet to see in the story. This happens a lot in my books. I like creating bad guys who are more of a force than an actual person, like a force of nature. Or sometimes when you hear about a character and they're all bad and scary and whatever, and you actually get to the character, it's a bit of a disappointment. I try to keep my villains in a lofty sort of status, like in the Shadowtech Goddess books. I keep talking about the Shadowtech Goddess and I pull the old switcheroo, right? I'm not gonna say what I did, but yeah. So the build up to Queen Gome over this last book and the previous book has just been a slow burn. It's going to be exquisite once she finally does show up. If she does, because it's me and I like to do those things. Anywho, long chapter. Let's get to it straight away. Enough of this pussyfooting around. Part 3, Chapter 4, A Familiar Prisoner. We're getting towards the end, Sarah said. The next horde is going to be a lot different from the previous ones, so listen up. The hordes we've seen so far have all been indoors. The next one, though, will be outside in a place Kai called Queen Gome's Playroom. Kai was a little fuzzy on the details, and we didn't have time to drill down and press her for more. But she says the playroom is located on some backward, sparsely populated world out there in the universe somewhere, where she terrorizes the locals and periodically raids them for slaves. Don't ask me where the playroom's located, Kai didn't say. It's built atop a very high plateau. It's at least a couple thousand feet high, and she's excavated the heck out of it. She uses this area as her private back door and personal escape route should she need to make use of it. Get ready for lots and lots of Menks, okay? And they're going to be flying as well as jumping around on the ground. Kai says there are a ton of them guarding the playroom, okay? Phillip and Thomasina both cringed at the thought. Sarah went on. According to Kai, the playroom is also where Queen Gome keeps her junk. You're going to see a central causeway that goes on for a long way down the center of the plateau. On either side of the causeway will be a number of giant-sized holes dug into the ground where Gome keeps her junk hoards. Kai said there should be 6 of them. Let's hope the Chadburn is in one of them, as we're running out of hoards to check. Be aware, as we keep destroying these various hoards, the Gellartron is going to start malfunctioning. The power of the Gellartron at Castle Bloodstein depends on the amount and the well-being of Queen Gome's hordes. So as we burn more and more hordes, it's going to falter and behave erratically, which is great that it'll help Kay out, but you don't want to get stuck in there. So don't burn anything until we locate the Chadburn, okay? Also, don't forget, when you step through, you'll be cut off from my signal. Get in and get out, then we can move on to the Bower Chest itself. Once we infiltrate the Bower Chest, we're installing the Chadburn and shutting it down. Phillip and Thomasina readied themselves. Sarah instructed Phillip, and he turned the Gellar door lock. The door opened. King went in, and Thomasina shut the door behind him. Several minutes later, they opened the Gellar door again. King returned. Alert! The area is as Lady Sarah described. A large plateau, 6,452 feet in height, has been heavily excavated into several levels cut into the top. There are a number of Menks present. However, they are concentrated at the far end of the plateau. There are no Menks currently patrolling the horde area beyond. No Menks? None. Also, I could not locate a blood box. It's not where the previous ones were located. All right, we'll go in and accomplish our task as quickly as possible and then retreat. Are we ready? Thomasina reluctantly nodded. Don't forget, Sarah said. No burning until we're done. Phillip opened the door again. As promised, the Gellar door swung open to a vast outdoor setting bathed in weak moonlight from 3/4 moons, hanging in a vast olive sky streaked with thin clouds. The whole scene was quite a departure from the closed-in, total pitch darkness they had become accustomed to in the previous hordes. A long, dusty causeway, about 12 feet wide, ran ahead into the somber distance. The spinning handle on the floor came to an abrupt halt, pointing straight through the open doorway. Sarah, the handle is pointing, Phillip said. Is it? Good, about damn time. Get in there and hurry it up. Watch the Menks. They went in, King first, with Thomasina rising up and Phillip trailing with the box and the handle. The first thing Phillip noticed as he stepped through was the thin, unsatisfying air. It was difficult to draw in a decent lungful. Thomasina was feeling it too, wheezing and taking in deep breaths to fill her lungs. The altitude was telling. Rose, are you all right in this altitude? Phillip was used to the altitude at Castle Blanchford, but Thomasina came from Wham, which was pretty much at sea level. I'll manage, she wheezed, struggling to maintain her flight. Go back through the Gellar door and wait for us. Thomasina wasn't budging. Let's do what we came to do and be done with it, Phillip. Ahead, at the distant end of the plateau, was a rolling expanse of reasonably flat land, marked at various intervals by dramatic rises and sudden elevation and abyssal falls. Stairways, leveled platforms, and various structures were cut into the rock like a dark scrimshaw, highlighted with dim dots of orange lantern light. Black specks like floating cinders occasionally rose into the sky and drifted down. Phillip, Thomasina gasped, do you see those specks off in the distance? Are those Menks? Affirmative, King said. Winged Menks, 4.5 miles distant. Behind them, the Gellar door they had emerged through was built into a small mound of piled up stones, placed at the end of the causeway. Past the stones was sheer emptiness. Phillip peered over the edge. The plateau ended in a sheer cliff wall going down thousands of feet to a cauldron of clouds far below. We are at the eastern end of the plateau, King said. How high are we again? Phillip asked. 6,452 feet, or 1,966.569 meters. Following Lady Cressania's handle, they moved inland away from the Gellar door. There were 6 treasure hoards situated around a central causeway. They were dug into the ground in perfect cubes roughly 100 feet long and 100 feet deep, divided by a 10-foot partition. All of them were open to the elements. Thomasina looked down into the hordes. "Phillip, what is this?" she asked. "It's a bit dark to see in the night air, but it looks like these hordes are full of junk. I see bits and pieces of furniture. I see toppled over crates and torn fabrics. I can smell mold." Sarah said something about these hordes containing mostly junk. Apparently she was correct. As they moved further in, the handle nudged slightly in Philip's hand. He placed it on the causeway. It wobbled and slid through the grit to the right. He picked it back up, and they continued, concentrating on the hordes to the right of the causeway. When they passed the fourth horde cube, the handle turned abruptly in his hand. "Here, this one," he said. They peered over the edge of the causeway, looking down into the horde room. It was piled deep with boxes, crates, racks, and all manner of loose items of various sizes. The galling smell of mold and dead things drifting upwards was thick. It troubled them. Thomasina covered her nose. Loose items were piled in a ratty, torn heap, filling the entire room with no obvious place to walk or stand, and with no obvious entrance or exit other than going up. "This is the correct one?" Thomasina asked, covering her mouth. "The handle indicates so. I suppose we're going to have to go in and dig." "Down there? There's no flat place for you to stand. You'll break your ankle or worse. King and I will do it. Cover us, please, Phillip. Watch for Menks." He gave her the handle. She and King drifted down to the summit of hoarded things, floating over its spectacularly unsafe surface. Thomasina poking and testing the mountain of boxes to see how stable they were. Crates shifted and boxes toppled, spilling out seedy contents. With Phillip covering, Thomasina and King set to work, following the handle. They moved to the far corner of the horde and dug down into the pile, tossing things aside. Phillip stood on the causeway, holding the box containing Lady Cressania's parts and his Poltava. "Sarah?" he asked. He got nothing back but static through the transponder. He wondered where they were. He looked at the moons hanging overhead. Phillip was an amateur seleniologist and was familiar with most moons in the League. He didn't recognize any of these three. They couldn't be in the League. Perhaps Zaffin space. He looked back, seeing the edge of the plateau and the little pile of stones where the open Gellar door was located, centered in a rectangle of orange light like a lone breakwater against a sea of darkness. He could see the dank, stony interior of Castle Bloodstein through the door, their lifeline home. Down below, Thomasina and King rattled about. "How goes it?" he asked, holding the box tightly, eager to be gone from this place. They didn't hear him. "Rose?" he said, raising his voice to be heard. "Who's there?" came a voice carrying on the night air. Startled, Phillip set the box down and raised his Poltava. In the distance, he caught hints of noise, voices, and indistinct banging interspersed with uneasy silence. As King and Thomasina were still hard at it, he wandered farther down the causeway to investigate, walking quite a distance from the Gellar door, which he didn't really want to leave, but he also didn't want to be ambushed by hostile forces. He would investigate the noises, and then return as soon as he was satisfied they were secure. Just beyond the end of the horde chambers was a small cluster of darkened shacks, situated in a ramshackle fashion around the causeway. Their size and shape reminded him of the lovely wind-blown shacks by the sea in Fazo that he and Thomasina had loved so much, had consummated their marriage in. However, there was nothing festive or romantic about these buildings. They were dark and forlorn, places one would wish to flee from and not visit for a vacation. As he got nearer, he saw stout metal bars on the windows, like those from a jail cell. "Is somebody there?" came a frantic voice from one of the cells. Phillip saw a slender form gazing at him hopefully through the bars. A pair of hands held the bars and rattled them. Hey, please, can you help me? Can you get me out?" the voice asked. Phillip analyzed the voice. It seemed to be female, though it was flecked with fear and a bit of mania, making it difficult to determine gender. It could be the voice of a high-pitched man or a contralto woman. Phillip also thought he detected hints of an accent. South League, possibly Xenon or Remnath. Poltava readied. Phillip stepped forward. Identify yourself. The figure behind the bars hesitated. Me? I'm just a slave, that's all. If you get me out, I can cook for you and tend to your clothes. I'll work real hard. You won't know what you did without me. Please, don't leave me here. Phillip felt pity for the prisoner. His natural inclination was to help, but he had to stop himself. Look where he was. Look what they were here to do. Danger was everywhere, and the Menks, floating in the sky miles away, could possibly detect him and attack at any moment. Without knowing the location of their blood box, they would be unstoppable. He came to the bar door. I'm sorry, he said. I cannot help you. I wish I could. He turned to walk away. Don't leave me, came the voice again, hysterical this time. Shouting. Phillip hardened his heart and continued. They hurt me, the voice whined pitifully. I'm hurt. I'm dying. I need medical attention, or I'm gonna die. What will become of my soul in this elder-down place? Phillip stopped. The voice seemed to belong to a League citizen, from the accent and the words used. Phillip was Vith, and despite the situation, he had to help if he could. If it was a trick, then it was a trick, and he had his Poltava. He approached the cell. His conscience would give him no rest if he didn't. Back away, he said. The figure meekly complied and spoke in a hopeful voice, this time clearly female. Okay, I'll just stand back here. Thank you for not leaving me. She scooted to the back of the cell and waited. Phillip inspected the door. It had a barred window over a metal ledge that stuck out about a foot. Beneath the ledge was a complicated handle, the ledge preventing the cell's occupant from reaching it. He tried the handle. With a few turns, he was able to open the door, swinging it wide with a rusty clank. Come out of there, he ordered. The figure came out of the cell. It was a tall woman, pale of features, dirty, wearing a threadbare gray sack that billowed about her thin body, arms and legs bare, sliding off her shoulders, hanging on by a thread. Crazed, somewhat windblown, with a mess of silvery brown hair, she came toward Phillip, hands held up as if seeking an embrace. Gods, yes, she cried. You don't look injured to me, Phillip said. Oh, I'm fine. I just didn't want you to leave me here. Thanks, mister. You won't regret this. Look at you. You're so handsome and... She took a good hard look at Phillip and stopped dead in her tracks. Oh, Thimblewolf, she cried. It's you! Phillip recognized the woman. It was Clara Wonderluck of the Jocanda clan. He hadn't seen her since the ordeal with the dead man in the grove, where all of her brothers had been killed. The Wonderlucks had been treacherous, lying scalawags, with Clara Wonderluck being the worst of the lot. You, he yelled, aiming his Poltava at her head. Thought you imprisoned in our village jail. She balled her hands up into little fists. Yeah, I was jailed in your village with no bar and crappy food. Thanks for a lot for that. And then this guy came in to see me. I thought he was a bar or something. I thought he was gonna get me out, but instead he brought in this woman with red eyes and horns. Horns! She frickin' took me out of the cell to Atrajack knows where, tore my clothes off, and interrogated me for days. I thought I was dead for sure. And did you talk? Did you give away our secrets? Clara slapped her forehead. Well, yeah, I was trying to stay alive, you know, you Blanchford fragwagon. I was scared to death. I told her all about the machine, where it was, and the defenses around it. I ought to shoot you right now, Phillip roared. Clara stared at Phillip, the wheels turning, assessing the situation. Phillip had been told that Clara Wonderluck was a crafty customer, nothing to trifle with. She seemed to sense weakness in him, that he was a civilized gentleman, and that she was in no danger of getting shot by him, no matter what she did. She smiled and came at him boldly, going for his gun. Oh yeah? Go ahead. Shoot, she said. Shoot me. You can't do it, can you? Can you? Too much of a gentleman to shoot a lady, aren't you? Aren't you? Admit it. Grinning, she reached out and touched the barrel of his Poltava. Phillip slapped her hand away. Give me the gun, she purred. Come on, give it to me. Are we gonna have a girl versus boy wrestling match for it? Huh? Oh, by the way, I believe I've kicked your little blue-haired sister's butt on several occasions. Maybe I could kick yours too. She tried to trip him with a leg sweep, using some sort of formal fighting technique that she had used on Sarah several times. But Phillip knew techniques of his own and countered her move, pushing her down to the dirt. She smiled up at him like a hawk. He knew Clara was an unabashed opportunist, shamelessly testing every angle, no matter how improbable, to improve her situation. Clara reassessed, altering her approach. She stood, giggling and flirting, trying to charm the gun out of him. Oh, come on. Give me the gun. Give me the gun, you handsome fellow, you. I'm going to start tickling in a moment. I will. Give me the gun and I'll give you a nice wet kiss. Clara was wrenched away and spun around. Thomasina's fist crashed into her chin, knocking her flat. Wheezing, Thomasina stood over Clara, her Zaffin blood boiling. For the love of Ald, who is this person who has presumed lay her hands on my husband? She said, voice shaking. She was holding an intricate column of brass and enameled steel, 5 feet long. An ivory-faced dial sat atop the column, bold and ornate. On the dial face were a number of words written in flowing black script. Forward, backward, left, right, and so on. Some of the lettering was too small to read. Thomasina had attached Lady Cressania's brass handle to the dial face. It was currently placed over the free run setting, moved there long ago by Queen Gome. King was perched on the dial, watching the situation unfold. We located the Chadburn, Phillip, Thomasina said. Her eyes widened as she recognized Clara. In Marlith's name, it's that insane Wonderlook woman again. I'd hoped we'd seen the last of her. Phillip said he's taken me with you, Clara said, rubbing her jaw. He promised me. You're going nowhere with us, you filthy Wonderluck trollop. Who's a trollop? Clara shot back. Phillip pointed at the cell where Clara had been held. She was locked in that cell over there, Rose. She called out for help, said she was wounded. I didn't know it was her. Thomasina picked Clara up by the scruff of the neck. Well then, we'll simply put her back where we found her and take our leave. Thomasina dragged Clara through the dirt back to her cell. Clara struggled. She kicked and clawed. Wait! You can't leave me here! I don't even know where here is! Her naked minions make me do all their filthy wet work for them. Scrubbing their tanks, fishing their cisterns, all the time. Grunge work. I'm no mechanic. I don't know what I'm doing. I hurt myself. I don't get any help. They're working me to death. They feed me scraps of unnameable food and putrid water, and they'll probably kill me or steal my face. Once I stop pulling my weight, then you'll have something to look forward to, won't you? Thomasina chucked Clara into the cell and closed the door. There you are, back where you belong. Clara wailed, For the love of Frith! Lord Blanchford, take me with you. Have a damn heart. Hey! Hey! She picked up a metal bowl and banged on the bars, making a fearful racket. Get me out of here! King hopped off the Chadburn dial and rose into the air a bit. Alert! Menk, he hissed. Phillip plucked King out of the air and hid him inside his duster to douse his light. They threw themselves into the shadows, hoping to hide from the Menk. We cannot be discovered. Without knowing the location of the blood box, the Menks will overwhelm us, Phillip said. As they watched, a winged Menk, glittering with metal claws, passed about 50 feet overhead. Its wings knuckled and bat-like, its claws glittering in the olive light. It continued on down the causeway, heading east until it reached the pile of rocks at the edge of the plateau and the open Gellar door. Gods, Phillip, what is it doing? Thomasina asked. The Menk came down on all fours, raking its claws on the stony ground. It noticed the Gellar door was open and went to it, inspecting the frame, its rail-thin body catching the light. Before they could react, the Menk swung the Gellar door closed, shutting it. The Menk then took flight and winged its way to the north. Alarmed, Thomasina stood. I'm going to check the door. door. She took flight and soared down the causeway at great speed. Your chick can fly? Sarah asked. Phillip didn't answer her. He watched Thomasina arrive at the pile of rocks and frantically feel about with her hands. She soon resumed flight and returned, huffing and puffing, red in the face. It's gone, Phillip. The door is gone, she said in misery. It's just a pile of rocks now, and it's all this little slut's fault for attracting the Menk. Thomasina marched up to Clara's cell. You've stranded us here. Clara was jubilant. Ah, so you're stuck here, right? How's it feel? It stinks, doesn't it? You stupid frag-licking legwagon. Thomasina wheeled around. Hold this, she said, handing Phillip the Chadburn. What are you gonna do? Clara asked. I'm gonna beat you until you meet your end. Bring it to me, babe. I'm all here for you. Thomasina rattled the metal door in its frame, trying to get it open. So you need some help, right? Clara said as Thomasina fumbled with the door. I know how to get us out of here. I can get us to Baz. She's got this weird flying machine. She lives in it with her army of naked ladies. And she's got treasure all over the place. The Bower chest? Phillip asked. The what? I caught glimpse out of a porthole once. I saw wings flapping like a dragon or something. That's where they make me work for her. They often go to this place in the desert where they worship her like a frickin' goddess. Up in the mountains is a door that goes to Bass. I've seen it. I've been through it, but I couldn't get away. I can take you there. Phillip came up. Rose, wait. She was shaking with rage. Just a moment. So you claim to know a place where we can access Queen Gome's Bower chest? He asked. Clara gave him a toothy smile. Sure. It's not far, you know. I've been in it lots of times. Pretty confusing to get there. You need a guide. She's lying, Thomasina said. Let me teach her a lesson. Clara laughed. Well, love, if I get taught a hard lesson, I just might forget where it is, and you'll all be stuck right here with me, she said in a sly voice. Phillip pulled Thomasina away from the door. King, do you know where we are? He asked. I have no point of reference at this time, he replied. Perhaps, as I gather celestial information, I might be able to determine our location. Ha! Even your demon's stumped, Clara cried. Phillip thought a moment. And, Lady Wonderluck, you'll take us to the Bower chest straight away? The dragon, right? Sure. I can get you there. And then I'm going to Baz, and I'm going home. What are we waiting for? Seeing little other choice, Phillip opened the door. Thomasina dragged Clara out and pushed her forward down the causeway. Don't touch me, Clara warned. Lead the way, Thomasina said, pushing her again, and do not annoy me, I warn you. Wait a moment, Phillip said. I need to get the box. He ran down the length of the causeway and retrieved the box. He checked it again, making sure all of Lady Chrysania was in there, and returned, thankful he'd had the foresight to bring it with him. What's in the box? Clara asked. Nothing that concerns you, Thomasina said. Let's go. Moving down the causeway, Clara admired King. I remember your silver demon from before. He is pretty awesome. I'll give you all that. How much for him? I still got money out there somewhere, I think. Hey, hey, she yelled, trying to get King's attention. He ignored her. He's not a demon, and he's not for sale. His name is King, and he's a Silvertech familiar, Phillip said. My mother created him. Yeah, Clara said. Hey, come here, buddy. I want to have a look at you. King glared at Clara and stayed where he was. I think he's probably still a little sore from where you tried to enslave him in the Telmus Grove and then force him to kill Kay. Remember that? Phillip said. Clara laughed as if reveling in a warm memory. Oh yeah, with the finger of Zahudi. I remember. That would have worked too. Are you always so casual with your treachery? Phillip asked. I was trying to better my family, pal. Listen, you do what you have to do for your family, right? I'm not really a bad person, you know. She glanced at the box Phillip was carrying. You can tell me what's in the box or not. No, he replied. Oh, come on. You can tell me. Thomasina yanked Clara by the hem of her sack-like garment. Stop talking and show us the way before I lose my temper and beat you to death with this device. Okay, Clara muttered under her breath. Gods, woman, how I'd love to put my foot up your mud thumper. Clara led them down the causeway for a long distance, eventually coming upon a sudden rise in elevation. A series of buildings were cut into the cliffside, stacked up several levels high, pagoda style. Staircases went up and down in all directions in a bewildering tangle. Clara scratched her head, confused for a moment. "This way," she said, heading up a staircase. Phillip stopped her. "Wait, I see Menks floating around all over the place up there. Her guards. The ones with the claws, right? The ones that shut the door on you?" "The very one. There's a lot of them. They jump around on the walls. They fly. I wouldn't want to mess with them," she added. "That's on you three frag wagons. You're here to protect me. Deal with them." Phillip, Thomasina, and King huddled for a moment to consider their response. Their respect for the Menks considerable. "Well, are we going to the Flying Dragon or not?" Clara demanded, impatient. "Just a moment. King, scout the area ahead," Phillip said. King fluttered off. Several minutes later, he returned. "Alert. The area is profuse with Menks. 100 plus. "We'll never make it through 100 Menks," Phillip said. "There must be a blood box around here somewhere. King, did you see it?" "I did not." Clara scratched her head. "What's a blood box?" "The Menks' internal organs have been removed from their bodies, making them extremely difficult to bring down. If we can get to where they keep their organs, the blood box, we can take them right out." Clara thought about it a moment. "Keep their organs?" Oh, you mean that nasty room with the guts hanging from the ceiling? Yeah, I've seen that. Is that what that's for? I was wondering." "Show us," Phillip said. A sly look crossed Clara's face. "Yeah, sure, I can show you where it is, no problem. First, though, you're gonna give me the box you're carrying, right, Phillip?" Thomasina was livid. "We are not negotiating with you, Wonderluck. King, fly this person out to the Menks and drop her amid them. Let them rend her into paste." "Wait, this demon can't lift my weight, can he?" King seized Clara by the hem of her garment and easily lifted her into the air. She kicked and thrashed. Okay, boy, you people have no sense of humor, do you? I'll show you where it is. Put me down." "King, put her down," Phillip said. He set Clara down. She was impressed. "Wow, this demon just keeps getting better and better. What can't he do? Come on, let's go. It's not far." Clara led them down several flights of steps to a leveled area cut into the rock. Ahead awaited a long rectangular building with a single door under a portico of 4 massive columns. There didn't appear to be any Menks in the area. 2 fierce dragon-like statues guarded either side of the entrance. 4 brass lanterns hung from golden chains between the columns. Clara motioned for them to stop. "Here it is. Here's the nasty stuff on the other side of that door. Those statues, see them there? They come to life when she's around. They snort and snap their teeth, and she pets their scaly heads like they're dogs or something. About bit my head off once. When she leaves, they turn back to statues again. That's actually pretty cool. I'd love to know how she does that." Despite himself, Clara's spirit reminded Phillip of Sarah. The two of them, in many ways, were more similar than Sarah would probably want to admit. "I think that's Queen Gome's Geller powers at work," he said. "King, go on and scout ahead." King went ahead, flying towards the building. As he moved near the statues, the lanterns hanging from the eaves lit up in strong yellow light. Inside each lantern was a shaved female head, light pouring from their garish open mouths. Bathed in the light from the lanterns, the statues came to life, stone melting into living flesh, the soft bluish streaks of marble on their carved bodies intensifying into lurid reds, livid greens, shiny blacks, and oily blues. The heads inside the lanterns then commenced a dire howl, thundering into the sky that nearly burst their collective eardrums. "An alarm!" Thomasina cried. "The Menks are surely coming!" The fully animated statues swatted at King, trying to bat him out of the air. Phillip and Thomasina burst from their hiding spot. Clara remained where she was, cringing. Unconsciously, Phillip still carried the box containing Lady Cressania's parts, and Thomasina carried the Chadburn. The lanterns rose. "Get the lanterns!" Phillip cried. One of the statues, a horror of twitching muscle encased in clashing vivid colors, came at Phillip. He pumped several shots into it, momentarily slowing it down. As Thomasina took flight, the beast snarled and continued its attack. King reversed his flight and headed in Phillip's direction, trying to assist. In a lightning move, the beast opened its jaws and swallowed King whole, its jaws slamming shut, teeth interlocking. Phillip was moments away from being devoured himself. My face can shield you against her creatures, he recalled from Lady Crysania's note. He opened the box and pulled out Lady Crysania's face, holding it before him. The beast skidded to a stop and gazed at the limp face draped with golden hair. It seemed to recognize that its master, if only for a little while, had worn this face, and some of her residual power remained in it. The second beast, the one with King in its belly, also seemed entranced by the face. They snarled and snapped at the ground, eyes fixed on it. The lanterns rose, Phillip shouted as he held the beasts at bay, moments away from being devoured, the face dangling in his hand. Thomasina crashed into the lanterns, smashing them with her mount calm. The lanterns resisted, the glass cracking at a slow rate. The two beasts roared in fury, shambled around Phillip, and came after her, covering the distance in only a few muscle-laden bounds. Rose! The first beast arrived, ready to gut Thomasina. Instinctively, she swung the Chadburn as it had much greater reach than her Mount Calm club. Surprisingly, the Chadburn didn't dent or break with the force of the blow. Instead, it smashed into the beast, flattening its head, knocking it down as it shed buckets of blood. She turned to the lantern, sweeping all four into wreckage with a deadly swipe. The heads within, all beautiful, all flawless, fell to the ground and rolled about like legs of beef, continuing their fearful screeching. Thomasina trampled them, flattening their skulls with the Chadburn, which was proving to be a weapon of immense power. Thomasina extinguished the last head just as the final beast arrived. As the light from the heads went out, it reverted to marble, teeth barred, gullet open, claws extended, frozen solid, just as it prepared to rip Thomasina to shreds. The beast rumbled from within and shattered into small bits. King emerged, rising into the air. Phillip ran to Thomasina's side, embracing her. Rose, are you all right? I'm fine. During the fight, I used the Chadburn as a weapon. I hope I haven't damaged it. They inspected the Chadburn. It was straight as ever, gleaming and unmarred, but... Oh, Phillip, look at it! Thomasina cried in dismay. The dial face and the handle are gone, broken out. I've destroyed the Chadburn. King landed on the dial. I do not believe this device is damaged. I am detecting a great deal of energy coursing through it. As they inspected it further, the dial face was not gone. Instead, it was covered up with a stout metal shutter, midnight blue like the pole. Phillip tinkered with the dial, and the shutter retracted, revealing the clean, undamaged dial face and the brass handle beneath it. Thomasina breathed a sigh of relief. Oh, thank creation. Well then, this Chadburn is a very powerful weapon. That's good to know. Just then, Clara came running towards them, her eyes wide with fear. They're coming! The guards, the Menks, whatever! A whole bunch of them! King fluttered into the air to get a better vantage point. Confirmed. Many Menks en route from the pagoda area above. Phillip tried the door to the blood box. Locked. King, get us in there, he said. King turned to the door. The door is protected by an energy field. Thomasina lifted the Chadburn, and the armored shutter snapped back into position. Stand back! She swung the Chadburn into the door, hoping to smash it, but it bounced off, the door undamaged. Clara panted with fear. Dozens of Menks came bounding in, leaping down the steps, clattering into the open area before the building, their silver gauntlets gleaming, ready to draw blood. Winged Menks clogged the sky like a plague of locusts, coming down fast. Clara dove towards the lock. Let me in there! Move! She yelled, pushing Thomasina aside. She knelt and began moving the components of the lock this way and that with her nimble fingers. Phillip and King went out to face the charging Menks. As before, Phillip raised the face of Lady Crysania, showing it to them. As with the stone beasts, the Menks hesitated, crawling about on all fours, their claws clacking on the stone, sensing their master before them. King attacked, devastating them, staining the ground with their blood. More and more Menks came. One darted in fast and knocked Phillip to the ground. He pumped bullets into it. The Menk would not be stopped. It took Lady Crysania's face from Phillip's grasp and the box as well, and was away, protecting the face and the box, taking hits as it departed, bleeding profusely but still functional. The Menks regrouped and readied for an all-out assault from the front and from above. King charged in, destroying Menks in a cloud of light, moving too fast to be seen. Others came at Phillip, meeting his Poltava. He pumped shot after shot into them, taking many shots just to stop one. King returned to his side. "Alert! Menks are down." Phillip took a breath. He heard no more clattering, saw no more movement. Fallen bodies and twisted limbs lay before him. Dead Menks tumbled from the sky, splattering into the ground like giant-sized grenades. "Phillip!" cried Thomasina. She came to his side, her armor and the Chadburn covered in sticky blood. Looking back, the door to the blood box was open. Clara Wonderluck standing there. "She got the door open, Phillip. I'll give her that," Thomasina said. "Inside, oh, Phillip, inside was a charnel house of hanging bodies. No skin, no muscle, just pulsing organs, beating hearts. I heard a prayer to Ald and went in. I ripped them down, stomping on them, covered in gore." "It's over, Rose. It's over. Well done. Well done all, even Lady Wonderluck. We all have each other to thank for our deliverance." They approached the blood box. Clara was standing by the door, leaning against the wall. She looked rather proud of herself. "You're welcome," she said. "Yeah, I've seen them work that lock enough to know the combination. Looks like I just saved a lot of you." Phillip glanced into the building. Gore everywhere, dripping blood, destroyed tissue, and the strong smell of innards. "Yes, well, thank you. Very smart work." Clara rolled her tongue across her lips and got in close with Phillip. "How do you like me now, Phillip? You married the wrong girl." Thomasina recovered from the horror of the blood box and pushed Clara away. "Yes, and in assisting us, you saved yourself. Those Menks would have killed you just the same. You may thank me and Phillip and King for saving you." Heading back the way they had come was a terror trove of huddled Menk bodies lying on the ground, all dead. Mostly dead, though. Some still had a flicker of life. Phillip and King finished them off as they moved along. "Rose, I lost the box. The Menks took it from me," he said. "Oh yeah, I saw that," Clara said. "What was in it?" "Something very precious," Phillip replied. "Something I intend to get back." They moved up the stairs, checking every Menk they passed. Phillip and King killing the one still struggling for life. Clara watched them work. "You're just an all-around nice guy, aren't you, Lord Blanchford? May I call you Phillip? I've been calling you that, but I hadn't asked permission. That's the northern thing, right? It's not something we do in Remnath." Thomasina reacted. "You may not. Zaffin's beard, do not test me, woman." Clara ignored Thomasina and mused to herself. Blanchford, Clara of Blanchford. I like the sound of that. Sort of a freelancer now. And Clara raised her voice and spoke to Phillip. "You have a brother, right?" Phillip was sweating and under duress as he attended to the grim task of checking and killing the Menks with King. He wiped his brow, horror etched into his face. "What? A brother? Yes, I have an older brother." "What's his name?" Thomasina gave Clara a shove. "What's it to you, you Wonderluck vermin? Any goodwill you created with us at the blood box is now gone. Are you seeking to somehow ingratiate yourself with us? Should you manage to survive this situation, you're simply heading right back to the jail in Blanchford Village to await arraignment, which, if I correctly understand this law, could take years, possibly decades, where you emerge from the jail cell a withered scarecrow. And by the by, Phillip's brother is far too studious and intelligent to be seduced or taken in by the likes of you, a refugee from a dead household looking to better her situation by any means necessary." Clara rubbed a careless finger across her lip. Yeah, okay. We'll see." They reached the causeway. Dead Menks lay strewn about everywhere. One of them, still clinging to life, held the box containing Lady Cressania's parts. Phillip came to reclaim the box, and the Menk raised a dying claw to protect it. Moments later, the Menk was dead. Inside the box, all the parts were present. "You got the box back?" Clara said. "You gonna tell me what's in it?" "No." I'll find out sooner or later. Come on, this way." Clara led them up a long flight of steps to the pagodas at the top. She pointed to a corridor covered with an elaborate mural. "Down there is the door leading to the dragon. It's normally crawling with demons, but thanks to me, they're all gone." King landed on Phillip's shoulder. "Before we enter, I wish to burn the hordes, as Lady Sarah suggested. While in the area, I will check on the Gellar door. Perhaps it is returned." Phillip gave King several bullets and he fluttered off. Be careful! While they waited for King to return, they examined the vast mural painted on the corridor wall. This is fascinating, Rose. This mural here, it tells the story of Lady Chrysania, from her birth at Castle Bloodstein during the splendor of the Vith, and her young adulthood with her siblings. I see her taking journeys with her family to a faraway place through the Gellartron. I see a stronghold and treasure and a great beast, a bower chest treasure vault, where they kept it all in a secret place they called Adama Thrombo. And she was wed to a handsome Vith lord, and she seemed perfectly happy. And then her husband and family died, and she lived on. Look at her here in the mural, bewildered, lost at the graveside of her husband and her children. I think she either contemplated suicide or actually attempted it and failed. She married again, and here as well, and here, more tombs, more dead kin. Here, look, she went to the sisters in Valenhelm for help, and instead of helping her, they appeared to have imprisoned her there for a long time. They experimented on her, and she fell into despair. And look here, here's a representation of Queen Gom coming to Lady Chrysania out of the ether of her own troubled thoughts, soothing her, promising to get her out of Valenhelm and taking control. As per this mural and Lady Chrysania's message on the table, Queen Gom appears to be a separate, dominant personality created during her years of anguish in the sisters' capture. Strong and ruthless, Chrysania couldn't escape the sisters, so she inadvertently created the personality of someone who could. She escaped Valenhelm, engaging in arson and body snatching and brute force. The sisters chased after her, but Gom was clever enough to elude them across Vithland. They deactivated the Bloodstein's Gellartron, cutting Gom off from Adama Thrombo and the bower chest that was hidden there. It looked to the skies, waiting for her to return. And here, as a fugitive, she moved on and married into other households to cover her tracks. Phillip stared at the mural. He sucked in his breath. By creation, Rose, she married into our house. Bloody Queen Gom and Lady Chrysania are our direct ancient ancestors. Clara laughed. Awesome! That's awesome! Phillip composed himself and continued. Rose, remember the professor had us go out to the grove and investigate a hole in the ground at the base of Dead Hill? It turned out to be a tunnel leading into a confined rectangular open space. Given all this, I think the open space we discovered was the inside of her tomb. She must have had a tunnel built in secret so that she could fake her death at a time of her choosing, and then escape to her next assumed identity. If she can escape from Valenhelm under the eye of the sisters, then she can certainly escape from Dead Hill. Phillip pondered the notion. Thomasina examined the mural, and then she seems to have abandoned the standard life of a Vith heiress and began the rootless life of a vagabond, rolling from one place to the next, collecting treasure and stockpiling it. Over several generations, she gathered enough treasure and other items that she was successful in secretly reactivating the Gellartron at Castle Bloodstein, and went through to Adama Thrombo, reuniting with the bower chest that was waiting for her there and filling it up afresh, increasing its power. Thomasina tapped at the mural. Phillip, look at these foreboding drawings here. I see figures in black, accepting from Queen Gom gifts of treasure, weapons, slaves, whores, and other fealties. I see figures in black desecrating the dead and placing them into the sky. Look there. Phillip and Thomasina both went white at the same time. Rose, the hidden Vith world of Adama Thrombo in the mural? It's Mare, the place where we ran afoul of the dead men while questing for Wilhelm's Perlamum pieces, Phillip said. The old Vith put the dead to the sky to protect the world from the sisters who were trying to take their power from them. It must be. Therefore, if Kai's gaming session continues to be accurate, then Kay has been taken by Queen Gom to Mare, where the dead men float in the sky. They both stared at the mural in horror, remembering the ferocity of just one dead man. Clara got impatient. She came up and gave Phillip a slight tap on the earlobe. Enough admiring the artwork. Come on, this way. The corridor ended in a door. A lock similar to the one at the blood box was built into the wall to the right of the door. Soft light spilled through under the crack. They gathered by it. All right, Clara said. On the other side of this door is the dragon. The first room we enter is Queen Gome's bedroom. Are you ready? There's a lot of treasure on the other side and a lot of naked ladies too. You better be ready to take them down because they are some mean hussy wumpers, the lot of them. Think of them like Menks, only cuter. King returned. The hordes are ablaze. The Gellartron has not returned. All right, Phillip said. We've done all we can here, and with luck, we've struck a blow against Queen Gome. Let's be gone from this place. Clara worked the lock. Hey, I need some light. King settled on her shoulder and provided light for Clara to see. You're just all kinds of useful. I like. She manipulated the lock with a deft hand. Doors ready. King flapped up, ready to destroy anything that might be waiting on the other side. Phillip opened the door, and they peered in. And with that, we conclude Part 3, Chapter 4, A Familiar Prisoner. That's a fun chapter. I really liked how that came out. And I liked Clara Wonderluck. Like I said, I had planned to kill her off in the previous book. She was going to die in the Thomas Grove, just like her brothers. But I just kept thinking, this is a fun character. I like her moxie as it unfolded on the page. I liked her spunk. And it would be a shame just to kill her off. And so in the previous book, Taldaroga visited her in the jail cell and she tried to seduce him, thinking he was going to get her out of jail, but instead she was captured by Queen Gome, and of course she spilled her guts to Queen Gome, told her everything she knew, told her about the machine and the grove. Yada, 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 which helped facilitate the eventual attack on Castle Blanchford. She meets up with Phillip of Blanchford, and of course he's too nice, too much of a gentleman to be any sort of a threat to her. Thomasina, though, much more uncivilized Zaffin, has no qualms about taking it to Clara physically. Would probably have beaten her half to death if she had had her way, if Phillip hadn't been there to stop her. And Thomasina probably could do it. She's pretty tough, but Clara's actually pretty tough too. She's a lot tougher than you think she would be. She's a survivor. That's how she survived the first book and survived the author who was going to kill her off. It's funny how these things work. These things seem to have like a mind of their own. Sometimes. So that was a fun chapter. It was long, but it was fun. I liked some of the innovations in there. I like statues that come to life. I had envisioned them a long time ago and really never found a good place to put them. Here, they seem to work out. Get used to them. You're going to be seeing them a lot more. And next week, we continue Part 3, Chapter 5, Gome's Bedroom. So we penetrate the Bower chest at last through mystical portals. I just love mystical portals. They solve a lot of problems, a lot of logistic issues. No, just have a magic portal that goes from point A to B. Just go with it. So they will enter the Bower chest and see what is there. That is next week. Until then, this is Ren Presents. I'm your host, Ren. Peace out.